Hi everyone, and welcome to, I was counting them earlier, our 13th webinar. Would you know that? Yes, so we've done quite a few of these. And so today it's a very exciting one actually. We're talking about CoverageImpact, which is a new tool that we've launched. We will be talking about how to use it, what things you can do with it, and how this fits in with your coverage book journey. So how this might fit with creating a coverage report, how you can include it, and how you can download a CSV. So I'm very excited for this one. As we're waiting for everyone to come in, I'll do the sort of usual introductions. So my name is Laura, and I am Head of Customer Success here at CoverageBook. I will be showing you initially how to use it and talking about Google Trends for a bit. I'll then hand over to David, who is our demo guru, and David's Head of Support. And he'll be showing you more like how this fits in with CoverageBook and some hints and tips on how to get good CSVs from CoverageBook. And as always, we have Will over on the keyboards. So Will be able to answer any questions you have as we go along. So, I think there's someone saying speak there. So just accepting some people to speak. So if you have any questions as you go along, feel free to pop them in the chat, and we'll answer them as we go along. I will also be sending a recording of this webinar to everyone, along with any notes of anything that I reference. So don't worry about taking loads of notes. You'll have a copy of the video and copies of anything that I start adding along. So now it looks like everybody's in. We try and keep these webinars to under half an hour. So I will quickly start, I think. So first of all, let me quickly share my screen. Sorry, here you go. Bit zoomy there. There you go. Right, so this is CoverageImpact. You can find it at coverageimpact.com. As I mentioned before, it's a standalone tool. So users of CoverageBook like yourselves and other people can use it. And basically, we made it because I don't know if anyone else has tried to create coverage over time graphs. Sounds like it should be super simple to do. I've made many before in the past, get lost in pivot tables, work out how to do it, create it one time, and then have to relearn it all over again. And it just seemed it should be a fairly simple graph to make, and it wasn't. So we thought, let's start automating it. And then on top of that, let's see if we can sort of show the value or the impact that the PR that you're creating is generating. Can we overload additional data? But can we make it in a way that is fairly easy to do? So that's what we're hoping to do. It's, like I said, it's a free tool. It's brand new. So it's in its infancy. So give it a bit of love if you find anything broken. But we're hoping to help. So the way it works is you upload a CSV, and the CSV has to have coverage and dates. So if you use CoverageBook, you can use a CSV from there, and David will show you how. But if you use any other monitoring service, you can bring in any of the CSVs that they have with your coverage in it, as long as it's got coverage and links with it. So I will show you one that I set up earlier so you can see how it works. So you just upload the file in there, and then we'll start generating the timeline. Give it a couple of moments, and then it'll appear just like this, much quicker than I am with Excels and pivot tables. So you'll see now that this is a campaign timeline, and then you'll see that in this instance there was a little bit of coverage, and then a massive spike in coverage, and then some lasting coverage going on for a little bit. So that's great, and that in itself could be a great graph to add to your coverage report. But we didn't want to stop there. We thought, do you know what, can we take it one step further? Like, what impact did this coverage have? And it's very, very hard to see this sort of thing. So we have tried to help a little bit down here. I'm going to loop back to Google Trends in a minute. But if you have anything like sales, stock price, web traffic, signups, you can overlay the data. You'll need to input this manually, but you just click on sales and then select what format your data is in. Again, in the past, it's been really annoying that I have weekly data, but trying to overlay it with daily data, it's been quite a pain. So in this instance, I have it for the month, and we'll just generate a tiny little table for you to add stuff in. So this only spans 2 months, so I can just edit this and say we had 20 on this day and 45 on that day. So it's only a 2-month graph, so it's doing slightly weird trend data, but you can see how that might start to work, that actually sales have increased. So you can have a play with that, but you can also add your own impact data. And as I've been playing with this tool, I've actually squeaked it a bit to not just use impact data, but to see if I can plot when maybe stories went out and when the coverage came, or if you had events when they came out. You can plot anything that you like on top of this, and we'll work out sort of the size that the other axis needs to be and plot it over it. So have a play with that. But what I find the most exciting is Google Trends. If you guys were in my last webinar beforehand, I was talking a lot about what value metrics you can use to show the value of your reports. It could give you some inspiration for some of these other things that you might overlay. So I'll send a link to that in the notes for this webinar. But I also spoke about Google Trends. Google Trends I find really useful just because a lot of PR campaigns, the brief is to raise awareness, and it's very hard to measure. And one way of measuring, not the only way, and it won't show this as like matter of fact, but Google Trends. So after your campaign, how many people started searching your brand? And so what we've been able to do is we have been able to integrate Google Trends a bit more with CoverageImpact. So if you click on Google Trends, you just click on here and it takes you over to Google Trends. So in this case, it was Mario Wonder. So if I type Mario Wonder in here, you'll have a trends graph a little bit like this. You just need to refine the options, you know, what country you're in, the range of your coverage that you've been putting, because you might want to map it the same. You might want to do a few days before and a few days after, so you can see how it was and how it wasn't, how it was before and how it goes afterwards. So this one was from the 19th of August. Let me pop this in till the 16th of September. All the way back. So if I add those date ranges in here. So now this just gives me a graph from Google about how many people were searching for the term Mario Wonder. Again, there's more detail in my last webinar where I suggest having a look at the different search terms that you might want to try. I think I use the example Patagonia, and that was a very noisy line because there's lots going on. But if you looked at Patagonia fleece, so you might, if you've got a big brand, you might need to be more specific about the term you search for. If you've got a great campaign name like with a hashtag, then that might be something quite good to put in there. So you can show that after your campaign, people are searching for that hashtag, so they want to know more about that campaign. So you might just have to have a play with what terms work for you. But once you've got your graph, that might show any impact that you've driven. Click on this little download button here, jump straight back to CoverageImpact, and then you can quickly just drag it in here. And then we will overlay this data for you into the graph. Give it a couple of seconds. There you go. So in this instance, now we have where the coverage has landed and people searching for Mario Wonder. And like I said, it's not black and white. You know, there might be other marketing activity going on at the same time. But it's quite interesting to see where coverage is landing and where people are searching more for Mario Wonder. So it's a really good starting point of conversations of what's working, what's not working. You know, you might want to have a look at this date here and what landed here, because search didn't start until a few days later. If you're looking at sales, again, there might be a lag time, but you might be able to start seeing the lag time depending on this. And it's just a good conversation starter about what impact your coverage might be having in a real quick and visual way. Just a couple of other things. You can edit lots of things in there. So these are our colors that we've put initially, but you can have your Pantene color in here, or choose one of ours, same here. So you can change all the graph colors if you wish. I've just changed it to the same one, but you get the idea. And you can change the date and the time here, and we just give it a description, but you can give it your own description here. So that's how it works in a nutshell. But then you might want to pop it over to your coverage book report. And this is where I'm going to hand over to David quickly, and he will show you how this can work with your coverage book account.
Hey everyone, thanks for that, Laura. That was really good. Yeah, so I'm going to pick up from that and look at how you can then take that coverage impact chart, export that as an image, plonk it into your coverage report so it looks really nice and presentable. And we'll also look through some other export options that you can use to get data back out of Coverage Book. And then finally, we've had a few questions from Coverage Impact users about CSVs, so we can run through some troubleshooting and tips at the end. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen. Okay, so this is Coverage Impact. As Laura mentioned, you can just drop a CSV directly into this area to get started. The other thing that you can do is that if you have already created a Coverage Impact report, if you copy the URL, you can actually just paste that directly in to a browser, and it will open up a copy of the editable report that you've already created. So this is a really nice, quick and easy way that you can share Coverage Impact links with others super quickly. The only thing to mention is if you do share a link with somebody else, they can come in and export this data. They can come in and edit this chart. But yeah, certainly if you wanted to collaborate with others, just copy and share that link and everyone can view it. Now, it's super easy to export this as a PNG image. All you do is just click on export and it's done. So what we can now do is switch over to Coverage Book. I have created just a quick example report with some demo coverage in it. Now, if you haven't used custom slides before, they're a really great feature, and you can either import your own images, either a PDF, JPEG or PNG, from something like Google Slides, PowerPoint, or in fact Coverage Impact. And we will include that as a full page image when you share the report with others. You can also build your own slides, and we're going to look at both of those options. So you'll notice that from the book overview page, there are a couple of ways that you can add slides to the front and intro summary area. And the first one is on the top right hand side, just click on add slide there, or you can click on the green plus add button in the top left and just go down to add slides and analysis. Now, there is another place that you can add slides, and that's at the beginning of any of the sections of coverage in your report. So just click on the add slides and analysis button here, and you can add custom slides and pages to each section of coverage as well. So all you need to do is just click on the green plus button, click on add slides, and you will be presented with two different options. The second option is what we're going to do first, and that is import a slide. So just find that from your folders, and then you can just add that to the intro and summary area of your report. When you do upload custom pages and slides, you can drag and drop those to reorganize them anywhere that you like, which is a really nice thing. So you can fully customize where those images appear when you share the report with others. And as I mentioned before, when you click to preview the book and you share this with your clients or stakeholders, As they scroll through the report, they will come across a nice high-res full-page image of that chart that you've just uploaded. Now, you might also want to include some supporting text, maybe a bulleted list or just some context about this particular chart. And a really good way to do that is to click on the Add button again, go to Add Slides and Analysis, and use CoverageBook's slide builder to do that. So if I click on Create a Slide, I can now add a heading and I can add some text. I'll let you have a play around with this. There's lots that you can do to customize them. We have 6 different options, so you can choose some side headings, some text, maybe add some images there as well, and you can change and edit the text and the background colors to get that looking nice. So yeah, if you did want to include some written context about what's included in the impact chart, then you can do that using a custom built slide. Now, Laura mentioned that Coverage Impact works with any CSV file, and that's absolutely true. So if you have a list or a CSV from a media monitoring service, or perhaps you've got a spreadsheet with some dates and links, you can absolutely import those into Coverage Impact and use them. But if you are also a CoverageBook customer, you can generate your own CSVs from existing reports that you can use to build impact data from. And I'll show you the 2 ways that you can do that. So the first way is if you dive into any CoverageBook report that you've created, go down to the Share menu at the bottom left and go along to Generate CSV. Might take a few moments. And then from here, you can basically download a CSV of all of the data that's contained within your CoverageBook report. And then all I need to do is go back to Coverage Impact, click on New Visualization, and I can basically drop that CSV in. And you'll see that that will populate in a moment. There we go. So in this particular Coverage Impact chart, I have coverage starting from the beginning of August 2023 going to the end of August, and what it's basically doing is it's plotting the number of pieces of coverage that landed on those dates within that month. You can now go ahead and use the Compare Impact on area to add extra data on top of that. And as Laura mentioned, you can use some of these pre-formatted buttons that we have at the top for Google Trends, or perhaps putting in some sales data. You can also add in your own customized data. So you could do something like newsletter signups and select how many newsletter signups you've had each week. Just wait for that to generate. There we go. So for example, I can just put in a couple of numbers there. Now, remember, you just need to either press return or click on the green tick to add those values to your report. And you can quickly see how you can overlay some additional data as a second level of information for that chart. Now, I mentioned there are a couple of ways that you can export CSVs from CoverageBook. And the other option is that you can use our Coverage Vault page to generate reports over a specific date range, or using lots of other parameters. So if you've not visited the Coverage Vault before, click on the link in the top left, and this will show you a fully filterable and fully searchable list of all of the coverage that you've ever uploaded to your account. I won't go into all of the features, but it's super flexible. Do come here and have a play around. But essentially what you could do is go down to one of your clients' folders, and if you wanted to grab a report over a specific date range, you can use our published on filters. So for example, I can recreate that report I did earlier by selecting the 1st of August and then using the date picker to select the 31st. And that will pull through 29 pieces of coverage. So what I can do here is just check that everything has a date and looks good. And I can hit select all, and then now I can create a new book from this selection. So I can just call this one Coverage Impact 2, for example. And what this will basically do is it will create a coverage book report. And in much the same way that I did earlier, you can just go straight down to the share menu, go across to the right and click on generate CSV. And now you have a CSV that you can use to generate a coverage impact chart. It's worth just pointing out as well that if you have a report with coverage in, it's worth just checking that each piece of coverage does have a published date. So to do that, you can just click into one of the pieces of coverage and you'll see the published date picker here. If it hasn't got a date, you can just add one and we'll make sure that we include that date in the CSV as well. Now, I mentioned that there are some troubleshooting tips, and we've had a few coverage impact users share some example CSVs with us that haven't quite worked when they tried to import the data to our tool. And the main reason for that is the date format. So if I just go and find a coverage book CSV, let me just quickly download this one. Okay, I can grab that, just open it up. Okay, so coverage books CSVs are formatted correctly, so you shouldn't have any problem using our sheets with the Coverage Impact tool. And what you'll find is that we'll contain all of the metadata in our CSVs. There's loads of information here, but the most important column is the published on or date column. So if you have a CSV from a media monitoring service or another source, it really is worth just checking that all of these dates are in a correct and readable date format. So for example, here I've got 2023/08/29. You might also use 01/01/2024 and so on. What can sometimes happen is that one or two of these fields might actually have a slightly different date format to the others. And it just means that our Coverage Impact importer can't accurately work out what the right dates are, and so you might see this import has failed message. So yes, do check that all of your dates are in the right format. Do check that all of your rows of coverage as well actually have a date in this CSV, and if they don't, just find out what the date is and you can add that in. The other thing to mention as well is that sometimes there can be errors. So coverage books CSV should publish the dates correctly, but sometimes you might find from other sources that there's a date well in the past, like 1999 or 2000, or there might actually be a date in the future. We've seen a few examples of that. As much as we'd like to predict the future, those dates won't work. So again, just make sure that you've checked that everything is correct and current, just to avoid getting any inconsistencies with the chart that you create. The other thing to mention as well is that if you are using Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel or Numbers like I am here, every time that you edit a CSV and save it again, it will probably resave as a numbers file, which can be quite frustrating. So all you need to remember is just to go back into this numbers file, click on the file option, go down to export, and just export that back out as a CSV file again, and then you can import it directly into your Coverage Impact tool. I hope that has helped. That's pretty much everything from me. I'll stop screen sharing for now. Did we have any questions that I can go through?
Thank you very much. That was very useful. I think Will has answered the questions as we've gone along, but I might bring them out the chat anyway, just in case they're useful for anybody else. So for anybody that missed the very beginning, it's at CoverageImpact.com. You don't need a login to use it, and it's made by us, but it's slightly separate to Coverage Book, so you can't find it in there at the moment. We've also been asked whether you can overlay two lines of data. You can't at the moment, it's only one. But what you can do is download one graph with one set of data, and then a second graph with a second set of data, and it will still start to tell you a bit of a story. So that might be quite useful. And then a couple more came through. How do you change the date range of coverage impact? So as Will mentioned, but I don't know if everyone can see his reply, is that the date range is based on the dates within your CSV. So if you do have, like David mentioned, one that's really far out, the date might be wrong, or you just change the dates, or just take the section of dates that you want from that CSV. Make sure you resave it as a CSV. And can you add website data automatically? No, you can't. There's no way to add a CSS for website data at the moment. You can add it manually. The only integration we've done at the moment is Google Trends. So like we said, the tool is still fairly new. It's just a free tool that we've put out there for the time being. But knowing to link Google Analytics data is something you want is good to know, and I can pass it on. And I think that's everything that's come through. Michelle says slick, which is good. Amanda says thank you, very helpful. So yeah, if anybody has any more questions, do let us know. I'll send this and a link to Coverage Impact and a link to my last webinar where I talk a lot more about what value metrics you might want to be measuring against. I'll send them all out to you tomorrow. And if after this webinar finishes, you have any other questions, don't be shy to email through to support@coveragebook.com and we'll get back to you then. All right, everyone, thank you very much for joining us. Have a good evening or day, whatever the time zone is where you are. And we'll see you again next week. See you later.
Bye. See you.